Thank you. Thank you for having me in the Academy. Thank you for presentation. So before we start, disclaimer, I do not have any financial interest of a product in my talk, any companies offering any money for continuing dental or medical education program. Now, while we're in the mode of appreciation, I want to say thank you. Thank you to my mentors. You see this beautiful gallery of faces, this trailblazers, these people, geniuses, brilliant minds, and also beautiful souls. I was fortunate enough to train by some of them. Others I met throughout interaction with the patient treatments. And just to give you a context, I grew up in Eastern Europe, where in early 2000s I graduated from St. Petersburg Medical University. And in Eastern Europe, physicians, dentists, osteopaths, and chiropractors all have the same training. So the first 3 years are the same. And then there is a separation: dental school, medical school, and osteopathic school. So what it does, it creates this beautiful network. We speak the same language. We see each other as equal parts in the comprehensive care of our patients. And of course, they helped me, and you can see the faces. And while in Europe, it was easier to go to Italy, learn biomedic dentistry, right? Go see Dr. John Mew in UK and learn the basics of orthotropics, and on and on and on. Dr. Kleinhardt in BioSuisse Health with Dr. Boltz, Dr. Thomas Rao. Then fast forward 10 years, I ended up moving to San Francisco. I got accepted to University of Pacific School of Dentistry, Dr. Dugoni. And as a second-year student, I was faced with mandatory amalgam placement class. So to my complete shock, I was bewildered. I asked the instructor, what about health risks associated with amalgam placement? It's banned in Eastern Europe since 1950s. And then I was sent to ethical committee for them to straighten me up. Then, to make things worse, there was a research day, and I presented on anti-fluoride research movement. So thank you to Dr. Dugoni, left corner, the founder of the school, open-minded person, visionary. He not only helped me to graduate, I also stayed as a faculty, in the clinical faculty. That was actually an amazing platform for me to speak and open the conversations with students. Make sure they understand their different views. At least get them a little bit accustomed to think outside the box. So I can't thank enough those people. And on a personal note, when my mom was diagnosed what's called terminal disease, which I don't like this term at all, because I think we're all at terminal in a sense, right? We all have expiration date. But nevertheless, these are the people who supported me. They prayed for me, they guided me, they helped me, so I can't say thank you enough. Now, today we're going to talk about water and hydration. And it was so beautiful how this morning the speakers actually laid the foundation. If you've heard the lecture on, beautiful, brilliant lecture by Dr. Gennady, he says, my surgery success is largely influenced by hydration, how hydrated people are, right? When he draws the blood and centrifuge it, we see this beautiful golden juice and all the cells. It's all about hydration. Same thing, we heard about the microcurrent and how they affect the cell membranes. It's all about gel state water. This is what we're going to talk about, the quantum nature of water, the gel state of water, what it is, how does dehydration happen, how it connected to chronic disease, and what are the practical implications, what you can do today to try to hydrate deeper. I'll share with you wellness hydration protocol. We sort of reinvented with M Clinic in Virginia with Dr. Zach Bush, one of my mentors. So first thing I want to study, and actually a couple of slides I added, so because this is just the newest research, came out at the beginning of this year, and this is huge. A huge study, beautiful data on more than 11,000 adults over meta-study over 30 period, where basically the researcher says hydration was a key factor in in finding out who will get chronic illness, who will get better quality of life and longevity. And this is amazing because now we have this conversation about hydration on the table in the medical community in a big way. So I also want to recommend, for those of you who like to read, Thomas Cowan. I absolutely love him and his work, Cancer, the New Biology of Water, a beautiful work. We're going to touch on some basic principles, again, of fourth water. Of course, Jared Pollack, who actually coined the term, the fourth phase of water. Quench by beautiful Gina Bria. She is the founder of Hydration Foundation. She does a lot of research on desert communities. How do they get hydrated without liquid? Because there's none. They eat plants, cactus, aloe, chia seeds. It's a beautiful gel state water, organified form of hydrating. And if you think of a chia seed, every time it gets in contact with water, it swells, right? It creates this amniotic fluid around the seed that will help to germinate and flourish the seed. The same way our cells are. We create water, we can grow water around us. This gel state water, or another analogy will be Ziploc bag full of water. Imagine that. This is our cells. It's not liquidy water, it's gel state. So this is a beautiful book I highly recommend. So let's talk about basics. So H2O is much better expressed as OH. I don't know if you heard that before or not. I'm going to repeat that. H2O is much better expressed as OH. What does it mean? This active oxygen is constantly binding to hydrogen molecules, and it just grabs one, then another, then every millionth of a second. So if you look on the top left corner, you see the tetrahedron shape. So if you picture oxygen being in the center of it and it's grabbing two hydrogens and then releasing them and then grabbing another, so this is a mathematical structure of a water tetrahedron. Interestingly enough, that the structure of tetrahedron equals through all forms of life. All good, all good. I'm singing for you guys. So it's a really sacred geometry, if you want to call it. And this is the structure of proton and black hole. Biology of life, I love music. So you will see a lot of analogies with symphony and different instruments. So biology of life is a symphony between carbon, water, release of energy. This is going to be something we're going to be coming back to, energy release, energy potential. That's the only way to hold this gel state of water, right? And the potential, the grid of information is water. It's extraordinary matrix that built around every living thing. And you would think since 70% of our planet is covered by water, and us, more than 70% of water, we will know a lot about hydration and water, but this is not the case. Actually, Jared Pollack says his research shows we're 99.9 water by molecular count. I'll repeat that, 99.9. In other words, this is our body of water beings. We're water beings more than anything else. I like to call water instruments. Because if you think about fascia being crystallized water, every time you move, this is the flow, right? This is the movement of the water. So we rely on water for our foundational day-night cycles. Metabolic rate, detox, DNA repair. We're going to talk about certain things today. And of course, hydration is a marker for aging process. This tetrahedron shape of water allows for water to take 5 phases. Probably it's going to be news for some of you, 5 phases, not 2, not 3. We all know liquid state of water. We know solid state. It's self-explanatory. Vapor or steam, it doesn't travel far, but it's a different from gas. Gas we see in atmosphere. When it condensates, we see clouds. In condensates again, we see rain. In order for this shift to happen, we need to have electrical energy. In the case with nature, it's sunshine. But what happens in our body? It's our mitochondria, our powerhouse of energy. So now we're going to talk about the 4th stage of water, gel state. So the movement of energy through the water cycle can change the phases of the water. So in order for gel state to be held by a cell, it has to have high potential, high electrical charge. Our vast majority of nucleus and cytoplasm is filled with gel state of water. So what happens when we lose electrical potential? So we know that microbiome, we're going to be coming back to the microbiome and why is it part of, it's so important for our hydration, but microbiome supports our membrane, insulation property of our membranes. And when we lose electrical charge capacity of the cell membrane, we leak electrons. And what happens? We lose the gel state of water. It becomes liquid. And right away, immediately, it leaks out of the cell through aquaporins. And there is no way to get back, to pump it back. This is what I'm talking about right now, the hallmark. This is how the chronic disease starts. It starts with the loss of electrical potential of the cell membrane. So microbiome has a capacity to regenerate and repair a cell membrane. And that way we can hold the high electrical charge. So what will be the practical tip? So when we live in coherent relationships with nature, we have a high electrical charge. Think about grounding. When we actually touch the surface of Earth, we get those electrons into our body when we touch it with bare feet, I mean. And that's what charges us. That's right away charges all the membranes. Now we can hold the gel state. Now we're fully hydrated. This is the optimal hydration, which equals to optimal health and longevity. So this is, I'm very excited with the picture in green, especially in the middle. This is courtesy of M Clinic. We've done amazing research with Dr. Zach Bush and his team. So we just talked about microbiome and importance of holding this electrical charge across the cell membranes. So what happens if we lose it? Well, if you think about it, between 1996 and 2006, we had an epidemic of chronic illness. Anything from autoimmunity, cancer, depression, infertility. Why? All those different organs and systems. Why all at the same time? Well, it turns out it has to do with chemicals that now ubiquitous in our food and water supplies. One of them is glyphosate, active ingredient in Roundup. What it does, it breaks down tight junctions, Velcro that holds your internal intestinal lining, your vascular tree, your kidney tubules, your blood-brain barrier. If you lose it, if you lose your tight junctions, and you can see right picture on the middle in green, you see this green, beautiful tight junctions on the left side, and the cells are big, they are rounded, they all laced together, they're one complete organism, right? And once you, in minutes after glyphosate, 20 parts per million, I believe, which is pretty much average for conventional grown beet, for example, for root vegetables. This is what happens in Petri dish. This is leaky gut in Petri dish. So you see all the cells right now separated. They're breaking apart because the tight junctions not holding them together. On top of it, take a look at the cell size. They're now irregular. They're smaller. How they became so small? Because we removed the tight junctions, we lost the electricity. Now the gel state cannot be held inside the cell. It turns into water and exits right away from through aquaporins. It cannot get back, right? It cannot be pumped back. So this is the danger of those chemicals. What else is adding to a problem? Alcohol, right? NSAIDs, pharmaceuticals in general. A big one is a Miralax. I don't know how I hear from all of my patients who sometimes raving to me about, oh, Dr. Emma, now Costco sells Miralax in gallons. They can buy it for me, for my husband, and for my kids. And I do know they have a child on autistic spectrum. I said, no way you can do that. Well, you know, they're constipated. We need to help them. And this is where we start to talk about nutrition. Going back to nature, being exposed to as many microbiomes as you can. And we talk about microbiome, I don't mean just the gut. I mean the air we breathe, what we touch. We are full of microbiome, living, breathing microbiome. We always talk about God being our second brain. our head, our central nervous system, the first brain, I can argue with the research that we have now, the microbiome is our first brain. Our relationships with bacteria and fungi is our first brain. So these are the dangers that we face. It's basically, if we want to talk about mechanism, it's just breaking down of these important barriers, the tight junctions. And this is where we have leaky phenomenon, leaky gut, leaky brain, leaky kidneys. What happens now, not only you cannot excrete toxins through kidney, you're just full of toxins, you just a sieve. This diagram I really like because it shows you how extracellular part of our body doesn't have water in gel state. It's a beautiful divine order. Extracellularly, because of the positive charge ions, it's always liquid. Why? It's a detox mechanism, if it works, right? If we're not leaky phenomenon, it works. So this is how we detox. So the liquid gets into lymphatics, then back in the bloodstream, then excreted through kidneys, kidney tubules, through urine. At any given point in every compartment, you have to have electrical energy. Again, going back to nature. This slide I included because I always talk to my patient about colonics. And this is where it gets a little, Well, because we detox patients, we do SMART protocol, we take out amalgams. So we have to ask about the excretory routes. Are they open? Are the kidneys working? Are the liver working? And I'm in California, so I hear patients all the time talking to me about different detox with different doctors. And I said, that's all good, but how many bowel movements you have? Like, what? I'm not supposed to talk about it, right? It's at the other end. But if they're constipated, and we are constipated nation, I usually say you have to start with detox, and detox starts with your colon. Why colon? Because 80% of antibodies are produced in colon, in your gut. 60% of your immune system by weight, by mass, is in your gut. Your neurotransmitters that make you happy, your serotonin, 95% is in your gut. Dopamine, 65% in the gut, the rest in the kidneys. So it's really crucial to make sure your gut is clean. And when we talk about colonics, it's not just excretion part, right? A removal of waste. It's also repair of gut wall, hydration. It's also a way to hydrate your body because most of us dehydrated. Restoration of bowel motility. And what I like the most, and I've been trained by Thomas Rao, there's a special way how to perform colonics, and Kathy Shea. So the way they do it, they relax patients to a point, and you know how I would say all of our patients, I used to say majority, but at this point I'll say all of our patients are in a sympathetic overdrive. So whatever it takes to relax them, breathing, meditation, body scan, and this is one of the ways. This is an avenue. You just introduce warm water. You don't rush. You let them breathe. And the more you relax, the more you release, right? So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this slide, but just to give you an idea, this is very important for us. We're working on the gut. We're working on detox. This is a really amazing studies. Again, recent, very, very recent studies. So what turns out to be DNA, this classic beautiful double helix that we know of, it doesn't hold its shape in the water, in the liquid state of water, but it beautifully forms it in a gel state. What's also very interesting, how our 6-feet DNA will organize itself around histones, those little protein balls in the nucleus, teeny tiny nucleus that many times smaller than diameter of a human hair. So it's a beautiful divine nature, right? If you think about it. And the body knows where the gene is. So for example, you need some gene, it will unwind the histone, expose the part of DNA, and it will make an RNA out of the DNA. A bunch of enzymes, big polymerase, and other things involved. Why is that important for us? Because all of this can only take place in a gel state of water. If you constantly dehydrated, If you don't have enough electrical potential in your body, in your cell membranes, you're not going to be able to do all this repair. And that's what shows the study on cancer. So average cancer cell has 20 to 25,000 unrepaired genetic injuries. Think about it, 20 to 25,000. Just because they lost the electrical potential of the membrane, just because they lost the gel state of water and a liquid exited the cell right away. And this is the hallmark of cancer. We talked about the gel state, electrical potential of the cell, but we have to think about mitochondria also. Our mitochondria needs to be hydrated. We all know mitochondria is our powerhouse. So when mitochondria is dehydrated, they lose their shape. They lose their 3D shape. And they lose, well, at least decrease capacity for energy repair. That's another hallmark of cancer. And when I speak about cancer, it's not just specifically cancer. I would say it's chronic inflammation in general. We can talk about autoimmunity, degenerative disease, inflammatory, but cancer, just because the most research we work with is on cancer. So this is how it all starts. Your mitochondria is not producing energy. So when we think about optimal hydration, I invite you to think about how can we help our mitochondria to be healthy. And don't forget that mitochondria are bacteria in your cell. They can regenerate and proliferate. From that standpoint, let's think about what can we do to invigorate our mitochondria. So one of the popularized ways that I absolutely love, the cold plunge or cryotherapy. So when you decrease the temperature drastically, just for split seconds, 35, 38 degrees, what you do, you invigorate mitochondrial proliferation to a degree where they think it's a matter of life and death. We need to get the heat to this body to survive. So they proliferate. You get a beautiful amount of mitochondria in your body. What are the other ways? Whole foods nutrition. And this is once again where the plant-based diet has a huge quantum leap over traditional American high-fat, high-protein diet. Especially when we have those cycles, alternating cycles between grazing and fasting. And this is where danger of calorie restriction comes in. So if you're constantly restricting yourself calories, you're counting those calories, you're diminishing, you're decreasing the amount of mitochondria. So for example, intermittent fasting is something I believe in, right? So it's a really good practice, but you cannot do it constantly. You do it 4 or 5 days, let's say Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday are your feasting days. When you eat from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., whatever your day is, you eat. But what you eat, of course, it matters too, right? I'm talking about complex carbohydrates, vegetables, fruits, and fatty acids. That will up your game with mitochondria also. So dehydration, what it looks like. Being indoors, huge. Not enough sunlight, huge. Not being active, huge. Pharmaceuticals. So basically the lifestyle that we live, dentists, doctors, hygienists, this is the lifestyle. We're in the office. By the time we leave, it's dark. We're prone to that. So, and a lot of, again, the recent studies talk about dehydration and how it affects metabolic disease. We all heard about hypertension, diabetes, obesity. So it all comes down to, are we hydrated enough? Can we hold gel state of water? So what is hypertension? Hypertension is a mismatch in water in different compartments. You have high volume in blood vessels, but not enough inside of your cells. Why again? Because you don't have enough electrical potential to hold it. You leak it. It's just liquid, extra